welcome to Sac Taff. And I'm going to continue from where I left off from last week. And I am on getting towards the end of chapter 8 on A Sacrifice of a Lifetime. And this week I had a little bit of extra time because I'm going to have to put in a new order for my book that I'm promoting, Taffy How. And so I've only got a few left. And so I had a little bit more time to do some writing. And I was going to start writing A Sacrifice of a Lifetime, but I had other things to do. And I didn't know it was going to take so long to sort of type up all that information. It took time. But, it goes to show that I'm getting there. So, hopefully next week I'll actually start typing it up. And I'm thinking I might have to do what I did in the beginning, sell the first part and then the second and third part together. I most probably might have to do that. So we've gone through last week regarding Rebecca going through her exams and, just basically just feeling a little bit negative as regards to her future. She's sort of thinking, she's not going to need her exams in a couple of years' time because she's made up her mind that if life doesn't improve, she's not going to be here. It's that sort of way of thinking. And where did I finished off here. It says, and then she's got into a situation where she's starting to diet. But she's going on silly diets. Like she went on a cigarette and coffee diet for about 3 weeks. And then she's gone out for a walk and things have got a little bit hazy. So she's beginning to realise that she needs to eat. And that's when she realises that she needs to start eating properly, but, proper balanced diet with a bit of exercise. So we've sort of got to that stage. And I would never recommend, like I said before, ever having a coffee and cigarette diet. Never. And then, so a continuation, Rebecca was ill and she knew that she would have to break out of this illness. It was not, if it was not to develop into something more serious like agraphobia. I think we've got to the point now where she's spending a lot of time in her bedroom listening to music, the same tapes over and over again. And she's got to the point, I don't know whether I've read that bit to you or not. I think I may have, where she's gone to leave the house and then she's feeling a little nervous. Her hands are sweaty and she's left the house, gone down the road, and then thought this is too much. She's going to have to turn back and go home. And that's when she's beginning to realise that she has actually got a problem because she's been in her home for too long. She's got her own internal problems as regards to, people and how she feels she's being treated. And so she's felt safer being at home. But because she's been in for so long, now going out is a problem. So she knew she needed to break out of this. So she knew that she had to make a conscious personal effort to get out of this predicament if the situation was not to worsen. So she decided to go out for the whole of the following day. But she would go window shopping in Oxford Street and prove to herself that she could cope with the crowds. In fact, all went well and the fear of leaving the house suddenly disappeared into thin air. So Rebecca resolved to stop binging on chocolate and decided to eat more sensibly and get back to 10 stone rather than an impractical lower weight. She looked around the stores and decided what she needed. The following day, she went back to Oxford Street and bought a pair of black figure-hugging jeans and a smart sweatshirt. Within a week, there was a change in her weight and she began to look healthier and happier. She had taken time off from minding the shop and now working in the shop. And now she asked her father if she could resume to her duties. So she wants to go back to work, which is good. It's positive, isn't it? And the next morning she began her new working schedule, and there was an agreement between herself and her father to have Thursday off. Fantastic. It seemed that she had cured herself by her own strength of mind. Because it's amazing that we can go through situations and we can make the situation worse because that's what we're choosing to do. I mean, if she had chosen to stay in the room consistently, that situation could have got worse and worse and worse. And again, with the diet, if she continued with that diet, that could have got worse and worse and worse, you know. So I'm reading the book, like I've said before. Whenever I reflected back on A Sacrifice of a Lifetime, especially Rebecca's teenage years, I always saw her weakness as regards to just feeling odd. I don't know if that's a weakness, but basically feeling odd, feeling as though people were sort of making fun behind her back, which they were. Feeling the victim, feeling a bit sorry for herself at times, and I just saw her character as weak. Not weak, but her weakness. I saw the weakness. If I had spoken about Sacrifice of a Lifetime before and someone asked me a little bit about the character Rebecca, I would have reflected upon all the negative things that she went through. But reading this with you, I'm beginning to see that there is a strength there. There's a strength there, but it just needs to be developed. She goes through a situation she doesn't like, and she says, no, I'm not going to go through that again. I learned that. You know, some people don't learn the first time. You know, no, I'm not going to. And then, you know, she's gone through different things and said, no, that's not for me. I'm not going to do that again. No, that's not for me. And then with the eating, it's like, no, I've got to stop it. After 3 weeks, no, I've got to stop this because it's not good for me. I've got to stop it because it, you know, and just eat. It's like she's got two minds, because 1 minute she's saying that she wants her health to deteriorate. That's why she wanted to smoke, and she knew the coffee and the cigarettes was not going to do her health any good. Next minute she's saying, no, she knows she needs to eat now and have a balanced diet. You know, it's like two minds there. You know, if she had spoken to someone about how she was feeling, someone mature and responsible with integrity, they would have hopefully seen this, and they would have said, well, it looks as though you're sort of thinking one way and then you're thinking another way. Why is this? You know, to actually help her, you know. But maybe she wasn't supposed to meet anybody to help, and maybe she was supposed to work it out for herself, you know. And then, you know, she knows that she has an issue as regards to going out, and she said to herself, no, she's gonna have to break this and go out, and she chooses to go out for the whole day. You know, I don't remember that. Now I'm reading it. I don't, you know, I thought I was just going to keep going out just regularly, but she actually chose to just go for it and go out for the whole day. Then the next day goes back again, you know. And a lot of people who've read the book, I think also the reason why I would have reflected on the negative is because some people who read the book reflected upon that. They didn't see anything else apart from a decision she makes when she's 21, which isn't a wholesome decision. And that's probably why, you know, my mindset is on the character, and instead of seeing, and also because I decided to write the book, it wasn't to write the book to talk about the strength of Rebecca, because Rebecca is me in the book. So growing up, I didn't see that strength. I didn't see that I had a strength. All I saw were the issues that I had. and how I was finding it difficult to overcome. So it's not really a strength, but I didn't know, reading back, there was an underlining amount of strength there, you know. It just needed to be developed. So I'm learning as I'm reading this book. I'm learning, you know, and it's really encouraging. It was really encouraging. It is, and I think it's also going to help me more for when I talk about when the new version comes out and I'm doing public talks about the book, sign-ins and sign-ups. What do you call them? Whatever it is, you know, when you go and talk about your book and sign some books and what have you and give them out, I'll be able to put together a talk regarding this. It's not just about the issues, it's about also having an underlining amount of strength which he wasn't aware of. And it's like, it could encourage other people, even people that are watching this now, to think about, do I have, you know, we all got strengths and weaknesses though, don't we? So I think what it could encourage people to do is to actually figure out, well, what are my strengths and how can I develop those strengths? You know, how can it benefit me and others? You know, yeah, definitely. So we're coming on to chapter 9, and chapter 9 relates to a little bit of what I was doing this week when I said that I had to spend a lot of time doing a bit of paperwork and so on and so forth, because Rebecca was no longer a schoolgirl but a full-time working young woman. Whoa. And not content with that, she decided to continue to study accountancy, which was one of her favourite subjects. So she enrolled in a college in Croydon. I remember that. And the course conveniently took place once a week on a Thursday evening. So that was good because she had decided, her father had allowed her to take a Thursday off. So it went hand in hand. She could spend the day, you know, doing what she wanted. And then in the early evening, getting ready to go to college. Fantastic. So the calls took place once a week on a Thursday evening between 7 and 8 o'clock, which was the day she had off work. So the people in her class were of many different ages and she felt comfortable among them. The other interest in her life was increasing. Yeah, what I was going to say to you was that this week I had to get together, I had to update my CV, and I had to go all the way back to this, where I'm talking about now. I had to go all the way back. So I started with the work that I'm doing now, and then it had to go all the way back down to, you know, studies, my education and so on and so forth. And it took time to do, because I remember getting the CV together. I got the CV together, I think it was sometime last year, and it was very, very brief. And it wasn't done properly. I didn't have any dates or anything like that. And then because I needed to get together a CV, I remember the one I got together last year, and it was a bit embarrassing because it's very brief, you know. So what I decided to do was to write another one up. And I did a little bit of research to see how I should be writing the CV up. And it basically said to start from what you're doing now, your present day work, and then, you know, you just go back down to, you know, so on and so forth. And I did that on Wednesday, and then I remembered that I left a few things out. So I remember going back on Thursday, and then even in my diary, I wrote one or two things that I needed to add in. And then I did my CV, and I thought, I'm not going to look in my diary because I remembered what I wrote, and I've written it down. And then I typed it all up and printed a copy of it, and then realised that, no, actually, I've left this out, you know. And then I had to do the whole thing again. Cut a long story short, it took me about 5 hours to do it properly, because I thought, if I'm going to do it, just do it properly so it's all done. But I was quite surprised at the things that I'm actually been, all the things that I've been doing. I was actually quite surprised, because sometimes I talk to people and let them know what I'm doing, and they go, "Cool, you're really busy, aren't you?" But it's not until I saw it written down of what I'm actually doing. It's like, I'm quite impressed, actually. I am quite impressed with what I'm doing, and I just needed to develop it more, and sort of promote certain things that I'm doing more. But it is an accomplishment, considering, especially talking to you about how, my experience I was having as a teenager, and everything that I'm doing and developed. I feel like it's a privilege that I've been able to do this. I really do. I really feel like it's a privilege. Anyway, so she's doing the course now, the accountancy course, on a Thursday. And then she's put here, that's why I didn't want to go straight into this. She's put the other interest in her life was increasing interest in men. Despite her unsatisfactory experience with Sean, she was physically ready for something she barely understood. And I like the way I've put barely understood, because she's a little bit older, experienced something, but she still doesn't understand. She barely understands it, what she's branching into, should I say, walking into. She still doesn't. On her day off, she got dressed up because she liked to feel different from the days when she worked. She'd always observed the shop opposite her father's store and the man who worked there and appeared to own it, but she had never really had time or made the effort to enter the shop. Now, she made a special visit to meet the man and to find out exactly what he sold. So he greeted her with a smile. "Don't you recognise me?" she said. "No, who are you?" "I work in the hardware store just opposite you." The man stopped. "What?" The man stopped what he was doing and took a long look at her. "Don't you look different?" he said admiringly. She took this as a tremendous compliment. "My name's Rebecca, by the way." "Oh, sorry, my name is Mustafa." He was a Turkish man in his early 40s, short and slightly overweight, with a cheerful, happy face. "Just came to introduce myself to you. Please take a seat," he said. She sat down and found it easy to talk to him. Somehow, the conversation quickly turned into a particular direction. Mustafa was telling her about the time he had invited a young girl, only a little older than her, to his house, and Rebecca could tell from the way he was looking at her and his tone of voice what he had in mind, but she played the innocent little girl and just nodded her head. After almost an hour, she made her excuses to leave. She could tell by the look in his eyes that he had been hoping for much more from the visit. Although she was playing a dangerous game without realising it, she liked the way she was beginning to handle her life. There was a spring in her step as she walked down the street, and her demeanour was so open and friendly that it was difficult for a passerby not to respond to her. Later that same afternoon, she saw a man picking bricks up in front of a house. As she passed him, she smiled and he smiled back at her. She continued to walk on, but an impulse turned around. "Come here a minute," he called out. Without hesitation, she walked back to where he was standing. "So what's your name?" he asked. Rebecca. "I'm Vincent. Where do you live?" "Further up from here." "I don't really want to tell you," she said coyly. "All right then, how about giving me your telephone number so that I can give you a call?" "Why would you want my number?" "Because I'd like to take you out." Rebecca had a slight doubt for the first time. "Can I take your number instead and then I'll call you?" she suggested. Vincent walked to his car, opened the door and wrote his name and number on a small scrap of paper. Rebecca put it safely in her purse. "I'll give you a call," she promised as she walked off. My stomach's even going a bit funny. I remember this. I remember meeting this gentleman. I remember meeting him, and he was busy. He was busy doing his car. He looked like he was a mechanic, and it looked like he was fixing his car or something. But there was something very sort of like gentleman-like about him, very friendly guy, and you know, and yeah. So she's got his number, and let's see what happens. It says here, meeting Vincent totally made her day. He was not her ideal man. In fact, she was not even physically attracted to him, but he was a lot more her type than Mustafa. Mustafa was like too old. I don't know why I've written that. No, Mustafa was like too old, and it's not something she was considering, but she sort of knew, had an idea of what Mustafa was. She knew he seemed a little interested in her, but that's probably why I've written that. Although both had seemed a lot older, she very much liked Vincent's personality. Yeah, he had a lovely, sparkly sort of personality. He wasn't show off or anything like that. Just very sort of, I think it's, should I say charm as well, charming. I'll write that down because I can include that when I'm expressing, because I'm rewriting this book as I've shared before. And that was enough for her. She waited 5 days, however, before telephoning him. I'm glad you rang, he said. I thought you would have called over the weekend. So what are you doing tomorrow night? Nothing. Why? Well, would you like to go out for a drink? Okay, then. So anyway, they go for a drink. Yeah, he turns up on time. My eyes are getting a little bit stingy now. Rebecca got into his car and they drove to the West End. Little was said on the way, but Rebecca enjoyed the ride, especially since they were heading for an area of the city she loved. Yeah, because Rebecca loved going to the West End. And that's why, you know, the other day when she decided to go out, she headed to Oxford Street. She liked the ride there. And then when she got there, she enjoyed the big buildings, the old buildings and what have you. And I'm still like that today. If ever, I'll only go up there every now and then. But I do enjoy, especially getting the old buses, the on-time buses, getting a 159 or something up to the West End and, getting off at maybe Piccadilly Circus or Regent Street and, going to Hamleys or Oxford Street, doing a little bit of window shopping or sometimes some shopping. I really do enjoy that still. And then Vincent's asked her how old she is, which is very responsible. So it goes to show, he's responsible as well. And she said 17. Is it 17 or 17 and a half? Even though 6 months do make a difference when you're still quite young, isn't it? Yeah, 17. And then she asked, how old are you? And he hesitates at first and carried on looking straight ahead. 27. He said 27. Rebecca noticed a picture of a little boy in school uniform, which was stuck on the outside of the glove compartment. That's my son, Vincent told her. And how old is he? She asked. It did not surprise her that he had a son. He's 9. I used to be married, but now I'm divorced. Nothing was said about his son or his ex-wife, but Rebecca was pleased that he had told her about his past, although it did not really matter to her since she only looked at Vincent as a new friend who would boost her social life. And I think that's one of the mistakes that we can make as women, as females, I'll underline that. Yeah, that's one of the mistakes I feel that we can make as women because, you can be going out with someone and you're sort of saying, oh, they're due for now. And then that person that you might be going out with could be sort of like getting attached to you, emotionally attached to you, and they could start having ideas about having a future with you, and you're just like, they just do for now until something else comes up. It's a little bit mean. I'm just gonna wipe my eye a bit. Yeah, it's a little bit mean, isn't it? To do that. Some men do that as well, though, don't they? They do that. I don't know if they do it more than women, but I know that they most probably do, but I don't know. But I know men do it as well, and I just feel like, and it's not fair on the woman, because again, the woman's sort of like having ideas about the relationship, and where is it going to take them, and some people even move in together, don't they? And even though they're not really interested in having a long term future with this person, they do for now. Oh, it's easier. It's going to be easier to pay the rent half and half, and that sort of thing. Yeah. So, and it's a shame that I've put here that Rebecca's looking at Vincent as a new friend who would boost her social life, and it's like, it's a shame that she feels as though in order to get a social life, she has to have a man to take her out. It's a shame how Rebecca couldn't have thought, well, I want to have a social life and I want to be able to go out and enjoy myself. So maybe if I, find like a female friend or what have you to, go to the cinema and, go here or go there. But like she has expressed, she became interested in men. So that's what she wanted. And I feel as though because Rebecca enjoyed the company of a male person more than a female. I think it's because of all the issues that she went through with females. She found, especially when she went to college, she found that she got on better with the males. So that's probably why she's sort of saying, yeah, it would be nice to have another encounter with a male person. But it's still not very nice though, because like I've said, you can do that, and it is sort of in a way playing with fire, because you can do that, be going out with someone just for the sake of it, but then the other person might develop feelings, and then this, that, what have you. It's not really all that fair. But I don't know how you feel about that, whether I'm making any sense. But I guess I am. I know that I am. Yeah. So that's where we are now. And I think I'm going to leave it there. So it's nice to see though how it feels as though she's turned a page over. And so instead of feeling negative about her life, she's now, decided to have a healthier diet. She's looking after herself. She's working back in her father's store, and that's why I had to write in my CV. I had to go reflect back and figure and try and work out how long was I working in that store for. She's working on her father's store, so there's a routine there, and also she's studying accountancy. She's studying accountancy because she wants to become an accountant. I think subconsciously she's interested in business, but I guess accountancy is a stepping stone in that direction. So it's good that she had an interest there and she wanted to study accountancy. So it's positive. It is positive. She's got over, staying in the bedroom all day. But now what she's doing is she now wants to develop a social life. And so now she's now she's met Vincent. And he's now going to sort of be part of her social life. Yeah. So there you go. That's Rebecca Barracu. She's sort of like overcoming certain issues in her life. So I hope it's encouraging, anybody or if you're feeling down and out. It's nice. I feel as though if you can see like you have an issue, like Rebecca had an issue with staying in her room day in and day out, and she knew there was an issue there because when it came to go into the shop, just a corner shop, her hands would get all sweaty and clammy and she'd feel nervous, and that's when she realised that she had an issue and that she needed to stop what she's doing and go out, and she decided to go out for the whole day. So I just feel as though She had a weakness. She was staying in our house, in our home, because she felt, people treated her differently and this, that, what have you. She wanted to stay in, even though she wasn't at college anymore. But this is because she's not at college, she can pick and choose now, and she's chosen to stay in her room instead of being part of life. But after doing that for a bit of time, a few days, it could have been a week or two, she can see it's having an effect, and she doesn't want to live like that. So she's decided to go out and to overcome the issue. And there's another time, I don't know whether I've shared with you about it already, but there's a time where she's drinking a lot of coffee, and she begins to realize that she actually needs to drink coffee. And that's when she decides she has to stop, because she doesn't want to be in a situation where she needs to drink the coffee. She needs it. And I remember my hands were shaking, her hands were shaking as well. I don't know whether I don't think I've read that or got that far. But the point I'm trying to make is that although Rebecca had her weaknesses, there was an underlying strength that I didn't even know she had. It's only now I'm sharing with you and reading the book with you that there was an underlying strength that she wasn't aware of, that she could see that the situation she was in wasn't helping her, and she'd put a stop to it. So with the coffee, she put a stop to it because she didn't want to be dependent. She didn't want to be dependent on coffee. All this shaking of the hands and whatever, she didn't want that. So I'm sharing because you might be going through something similar or something else, but there must be an underlining of strength there that maybe you're not aware of, that can help you overcome the situation. And if you are going through something, if there's someone that you can talk to that you feel you can trust, they're integral, they're quite wise, you don't want to talk to anybody negative there, because they could say, yeah, that's how I feel. Talk to someone who you feel that that can help, and they can actually they might be able to point these things out to you as well, because we've all got strengths and weaknesses, but many a time we focus on the weaknesses, which is what I have done all these years, focused on the weaknesses of my teenage life. It's only now I can see there were hidden strengths that I wasn't aware of. No one really... I do remember in Stowford College, I remember I had an issue with the history teacher, and there's one or two things he pointed out to me. But I guess you need to keep hearing it. I guess you need to either keep hearing it, or you need to somehow acknowledge what they're trying to tell you. Because sometimes someone can say something to you once, and you never forget it. Because there's a situation with Vincent, and he says something to Rebecca once, and to this day I've never forgotten what he said, and it really did help. I've never forgotten it, and we'll come across that next time when I read it to you. But I hope you're enjoying what I'm sharing, and when I say enjoying, because it's not really a book where you can say, yeah, I really enjoyed it. But you can say that you enjoyed it because you're sort of learning about the character, you're seeing the character's weaknesses, but you're also seeing the character's strength. And it's really encouraging me to realise that, yeah, we've all got strengths. Now I've got to figure out what my strength is, or you can ask someone who knows you. But again, they're integral. You can ask them what do you think your strength is, or you sit down and think about it as well and develop it to try and help you deal with whatever it is you're facing, to overcome it. Because I feel as though when we go through things, as difficult as it may be, as we overcome and we gain strength and knowledge and wisdom from it, it then allows you to be able to help other people. So now you're becoming beneficial to others. And when you're giving and you have a giving heart, it's how can I say, it's just encouraging, isn't it? Not only to yourself, It's also encouraging to others, to people in the community, people surrounding you, in your social circles, etc. So it's very encouraging. So hopefully you feel encouraged. Think about it. What are your strengths? You might already know what your strengths are. So what are you doing with your strengths to benefit yourself and others? What are you doing? Are you doing anything? You have to think about it, because the more you learn about yourself and the more you learn to give, you'll find you'll be a lot happier as well. They always say it's better to give than to receive, don't they? Definitely. Yeah, so if you want to see what else I'm doing online, my Instagram is Roslyn1325. My YouTube is Welcome Roslyn Roberts. I've got I'm on Threads as well, Facebook as Roslyn Roberts, and also on X. And I'm on X, author _RR Roberts, something like that anyway, at author _RR Roberts. But in the meantime, take care. Speak to you soon. Bye bye.